Hello and welcome back everybody to the Food Build Factory, where today we're going to take a look at the actress. That's the girl you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the second part of the video we're going to take a look at the perks, mutations, equipment and everything else you need to know. Now, what this build is going to be about is a there's a bit of a twist here, which is that on paper, this is basically a stealth guerrilla build, something I wanted to show off for a while now. Definitely one of the best ways to utilize pistols or pistol-like weapons in this game. Now, there is a little twist though, and the way I came about this build is basically I am working on a stealth um, archer at the moment, focused on crits. Basically, the core build will be pretty similar to this one, and just to level up a few levels, I wanted to utilize a guerrilla build, stealth guerrilla, simply because I know it's quite effective. And while I was changing my weapon, while I was modifying it, I was having this 10mm pistol here equipped with a gunslinger receiver, so the simple semi-automatic one. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to utilize a receiver that goes to benefit crits very heavily rather than plain damage. So not the powerful receiver, but I think it's the tweaked automatic receiver, it's called. And while I was changing the receiver, I noticed that the damage seemed a bit high for me still having the gunslinger perks equipped. And yeah, during that I realized that actually this is an automatic receiver for the 10mm pistol, however it still benefits from the gunslinger perks. I'm not entirely sure, I gotta test this, if it also benefits from the guerrilla perks. That would be very cool, would mean that we could double dip. However, as I said, I have to test that. Expect to hear from me if that's the case, because I think that would be worth a build. However, if I'm not going to bring up the topic again, that probably means it's just benefiting from the gunslinger perks, which I assume is the case. Now, anyways, what's the deal about this? Now, on first thought, this isn't all that spectacular, because all it does is, well, if you want to utilize this weapon with this receiver, you just equip the gunslinger perks rather than the guerrilla perks, and well, that's it. Now, the interesting part about it though is that, yeah, this means this weapon here could be a very good backup weapon for a gunslinger. Now, as you guys know, gunslinger builds do have kind of a trouble with effectiveness. They're not all that great. And the problem is, yeah, you can easily deal with mobs like this. That shouldn't be a problem even with a gunslinger build. However, where your DPS falls flat is when you're fighting tougher enemies, Scorch Beasts, Sheep Scorches, and so on. And one trick people kind of use every now and then is the plasma pistol with the plasma flamer barrel attached to it. That makes the weapon automatic with a high fire rate, and overall helps its DPS quite a lot while still benefiting from the gunslinger perks. And well, now we do have another option. Like, yeah, this weapon here works exactly the same way. So if you are working on, let's say, a stealth gunslinger, one example I could think of is maybe you wanted to utilize the Gauss pistol, which is a cool little weapon, and killing super mutant schools and so on can be fun with it. However, once you're fighting, as I said, Scorch Beasts or so on, yeah, that's when you get into trouble. And well, you can just utilize this weapon here without switching any perks whatsoever. You can just make full use out of the weapon. And yeah, I figured that's quite cool. I'm kind of surprised I never saw anyone talk about this so far. Because yeah, it's quite an interesting thing in my opinion. And okay, it's out of range here. And as you can see, damage output here is really good. Now we're utilizing a perk, a build that has enough luck, 23 to be exact, so that we can get a crit on every second shot. Now, this works in theory. I've shown it quite a few times. It's nothing new on this channel here. Um, it doesn't, on average, work on every second hit though, simply because the game sometimes isn't registering right or something. But yeah, in theory, well, let's see. We have one here. Okay, nothing changed on the crit bar. Okay, this was a bit bad here. Yeah, I'm having trouble to showing it, but now you saw I did 2 crits in a row. Yeah, it's kind of hard to verify, but when the game works correctly, you can see it. Anyways, we have a crit-focused build, and the receiver gives us automatic fire, plus it gives us extra crit damage. On our weapon, we do have extra crit damage, so we're stacking basically every crit perk and crit modification that we can find. There's some buffs we don't use, like Blight Soup or so on, so you could even get it a bit further. Now, at a certain point, there are diminishing returns. We're buffing our crits so much that, yeah, it's basically overkill, but I still wanted to do it. And, well, as you can see, our crits do pretty much double damage compared to our standard attacks. And, well, overall, the build works very well. The only problem I have with it is you're running through 10mm ammo quite fast. However, that's just something you can work on your trigger discipline. Like, you can use this thing completely like a semi-automatic weapon if you desire. You just have to work on your trigger discipline a little bit. The range is okay. It's not the best range in the world, but it definitely works, and crits seem to not struggle with range all that much. And another big benefit, well, it's not a big benefit in and of itself, but you really feel the difference here. It is that a few patches ago, Bethesda changed the way that the concentrated fire perk works for automatic weapons, meaning that on automatic weapons, basically rank 1 of the concentrated fire perk is pretty much all you need. The benefits aren't just as well compared to semi-automatic weapons. Now, this weapon obviously still registers as a semi-automatic weapon, even though it isn't, meaning that you still get the old benefit from concentrated fire, which makes it very effective. Now, I have a slight suspicion that here, somewhere here, there should be our good old Assaultron, but I can't really find him. Now, another thing I have to say about this build is, in terms of equipment, we're not utilizing any stealth equipment. I just wanted to throw together a set of armor that has a few extra luck effects, and therefore, yeah, our complete stealth here is just from having high agility and the sneak perks. But yeah, it's, in all fairness, you rarely see the difference. Now, it's something I fail to miss every now and then, but yeah, having a full set of Chameleon definitely makes a difference. However, it's basically overkill, because for most situations, yeah, you don't need that. Starting off with the crit here, we can go from fairly long range. The only difference here is that we're using slightly more bullets, but to be fair, the time to kill is still pretty fast, so there's no big deal here. And as you can see, we're quite lucky when it comes to legendaries today, by the way. That was a 3-star, wasn't it? Oh yeah, okay. We're quite lucky with the quantity, however, the quality of the weapons still lacking. And overall, yeah, one of the more powerful builds here. Basically, yeah, if you want to utilize pistols in any capacity and you don't really care for having, revolvers or so on, yeah, the stealth guerrilla build is pretty much the most effective one. For those of you who are a bit more familiar with the builds in the game, you probably saw already what kind of build we're running here. We are a junkie. You can see that by looking down below our AP bar. There you can see the small symbols for chem addiction and alcohol addiction. I will show those off later when we're going over the perks. But yeah, overall, not a lot to say here. I mean, it's no witchwork, to be honest. We're using stealth, which is nice. We're using high fire rate weaponry, which is also, yeah, pretty much the standard if you want to go for high damage. Only option you could have would be heavy gunner or something, but yeah, obviously still a stealth commando would do a bit better, especially once we're going against bosses, but there's not a lot to be desired here. We can cheese through the whole game here, no problem whatsoever. And yeah, as I said, the main interesting thing about this build here is the simple fact that we're using gunslinger perks. And yeah, the benefit that comes from it is something I'm not really showing off here. But yeah, you can just use this as a backup weapon. I mean, there's no good reason to do that rather than maining the weapon, because it will be way better than every semi-automatic pistol you can possibly have. However, it just gives you a nice option. Now, one thing where this could work very well is if you are running a gunslinger, and yeah, you don't need a whole lot of stealth perks or anything to keep stealthy for a while. So, saying this and we're jumping into danger, which is kind of odd here. I'm not even sure who detected us. Well, anyways, you can use just a very basic. If you're having a gunslinger, chances are you're having a lot of luck and a lot of agility anyways, so you're probably going for a crits build either way. And that being said, you are naturally a bit stealthy. Just use a standard 10mm pistol, modify it like I did with the only... Oh, okay. No, I thought just putting on a Scorched Killer receiver, but yeah, that would change the whole point. Well, anyways, finding a Zealot's 10mm pistol or so shouldn't be a problem, and you have something that you can use against bosses. You can just utilize it like this here though. Obviously, if you want to use multiple weapons, like for example, also want to use the pipe pistol or so on, then yeah, go for a guerrilla build and use a powerful automatic receiver. Probably even a bit better damage output. But it's just an interesting find I made, which, yeah, as I said, I'm kind of curious that I never seen talk about it, because I actually keep track of a lot of videos about Fallout 76, and I never saw this mentioned anywhere, also not on Reddit or so on. And the plasma flamer barrel is pretty widespread knowledge, even though I think this here will be superior to the flamer barrel as a backup weapon, simply because it has more range. And yeah, well, the ammo is a bit cheaper, but that's kind of nitpicky and not a big deal. Oh, who cares for ammo? Now the game is a bit laggy. We're also out of stealth here, and as you can see, our enemies did quite a jump here, so yeah, I feel like I have a bit of a bad connection at the moment. But as you saw, even jumping into danger, Deathclaw wasn't a big problem. Now obviously if you get a hit in, we're quite squishy. I'm pretty sure like most of our armor is broken at this point. I just didn't bother to repair it honestly, because well, we're a stealth build, so who cares if it's broken or not. Okay, we're having level 50 super mutants here, but level 100 hound, no problem. Up there should be a level 100 super mutant as well. Yes. Let's see if how we're doing from range. Yeah, everything's going out relatively smoothly, so not a big deal. Also, the Scorched Beast wasn't a big deal either. The only problem is when it's flying away and not in range anymore. So that could potentially be a bit bothersome, but yeah, no big deal here. Now we're cleaning the front side, and then we're going to take a look at our equipment and the perks and everything. This should be relatively easy. Now this is a bit of this area here is a bit of a challenge for a stealth character. Like, if you're not really spec'd into stealth, this could be hard here. I'm really having a bit of a lag issue, but I noticed that this was the case yesterday as well, so I think it has to do with the update, which overall I quite like the update. However, Yeah, it seemed to be the game seemed to be very laggy since then. So yeah, doesn't really help on a stealth build. However, yeah, on which build does it help? You know. So overall, what's happening here is we're probably just using more bullets than we would otherwise, because yeah, sometimes we're just shooting one or two more bullets into an enemy that would be dead already. I think we're done here. However, yeah, when it comes to Westec, I always get surprised during the perk part of the video, but I think on this occasion we did quite well. Now, this was it. I hope you did enjoy it. Ultimately, I quite enjoyed the build. It was a little bit of a quick one here. As I said, it's not that I planned this build, but it's just something that came to be unintentionally. I just wanted to make a video about it because, knowing my luck, probably 10 minutes before I upload this video, someone else will report about this discovery, and I think it has potential to, yeah, be quite a cool little addition to the game, having this here automatic 10mm pistol. Ultimately, I have to say that this doesn't seem intentional, so I guess sooner rather than later it will be patched. However, knowing Bethesda, it could very well be that for the next 2 years you can utilize this, or forever, possibly. We're suffering from the Blight, I see, which should be for quite a while, and basically made our build way worse because, yeah, we're only having 22 luck now, and that means ever since the Scorch Beast fight we didn't get as much crits as we wanted to, which is a bit of a shame. I didn't notice. But yeah, you saw, even with a crit every 2 shots, yeah, it went fairly decent, I gotta say. So let's get right into it. I just showed you here. Now we're back to 23 luck. That's the number you want to have. The rest here, strength at 1, endurance at 2, charisma at 2. Yeah, we're pretty... We do have some pretty heavy dump stats here. Perception is high though, agility is very high, and luck is very high. Intelligence is in a nice little sweet spot here, but that's about it. In terms of our effects, the addictions I choose here were alcohol, buff out, medics, mentats, and psycho. Um, main theme here is debuffing strength and endurance and charisma, stuff we don't need. Now you can see here we have some negative damage resistance from medics and psycho, but overall that's 20 less damage resistance, which is basically not noticeable difference here, especially on a stealth build. The only thing that hurts a little bit is from medics and alcohol we do have a bit less agility, but it's 2 agility is, yeah, we can live with that. We do have way enough agility as it is. In terms of mutations here, we do have Bird Bones, Eagle Eyes, Egghead, Herbivore, Marsupial, Speed Demon. Now, Unstable Isotope and Chameleon are leftovers from other builds, but they don't have any noticeable negatives, so I left them in. Bird Bones, extra agility, which is nice. Eagle Eyes, extra perception, which is also very nice, and most importantly, the extra crit damage, which boosts our DPS here. Perception helps us getting headshots or weak spot shots. Egghead, simply there to offset the negatives from Marsupial and give us a little bit more intelligence to level up. Herbivore, well, on this occasion I think plants are the better buffs, simply because you can buff your crit damage further and so on, but that's just something you have to know for yourself if you want to have it or not. And Marsupial and Speed Demon are pretty standard. Now, I'd argue that Speed Demon on this occasion isn't as important, because you're reloading quite fast anyways, but having the extra movement speed is also always nice. Marsupial, yeah, what should I say, a bit more carry weight, which isn't as important, but the higher jumps are really a game changer, and so that's it in terms of the buffs. The only thing we do have here, we are hydrated. We started with well hydrated, so we have a bit more AP regen, but yeah, that's about it. Onto our equipment here. The weapon I was using during the video here is a Junkies 10mm auto pistol. It's only called auto pistol. I will show that it's benefiting from the gunslinger perks in a minute. We do have Wets crits with extra damage and Wets crits filling faster, so overall quite a nice gun. I do not show off Junkies all that much because, yeah, people seem to not like it as much. Um, Ideal weapon for this build here, I'd say, would be quad with the same secondary and tertiary effect, or anti-armor could work very well. There's a lot you can do. You can even have fun, I'd argue, with instigating, even though the base damage isn't all that high, but it could, especially when you're fighting ghouls, it could help you one or two shotting them even more. So that could be an interesting thing, but overall, go for what you want here. So it's a pistol, it's light. You can even go for multiple ones if you find them, like zealots, mutant slayers, and so on. But ultimately, the more important thing here are VETS crits doing more damage and VETS crits filling faster. So in terms of our modifications, the tweaked automatic receiver, that's the one I was talking about. And as you saw during the video, the weapon is automatic. We're currently doing 60 damage. And if I want to demonstrate that, I unequip all the gunslinger perks we do have here. And we're doing 46 damage. Look at that. So I sadly don't have a guerrilla perk here. So otherwise I could test it very quickly. But yeah, as I said, you will hear if that works. Now, onto our armor. We do have one auto-stim leather piece with extra luck. And the rest here is weightless, one with extra agility, one with extra luck, another one with extra luck and sentinel. Sentinel we don't really use. And here is one extra luck and weapon weight reduction. So overall, you see, this is not really a good armor set. 3 pieces are broken at the moment. This here we can just leave. One auto-stim piece. I don't think it's necessary to have an auto-stim piece here. I just wanted to have these luck boosts, and that's about it. So in terms of armor, yeah, feel free to use whatever you want. Obviously, chameleon would be nice just to be more stealthy, but that's about it. And now let's get on to our perks. In strength, we do have rank 3 with traveling pharmacy. Just a carry weight perk, use it or don't. Otherwise, there's nothing we really need. Now, bandolier could be a nice pick, but to be honest, 10mm ammo isn't all that heavy. But yeah, feel free to use whatever you like here. Perception is a bit more important. Tank killer, a bit of a stagger chance, as well as armor penetration is definitely nice. It works on our pistols, as the as the card says. So yeah, especially the armor penetration works very well for us since we have relatively low base damage. Exterminator is a situational perk as well as glow sight. However, I wanted to have relatively high perception just to get good hits in, and ultimately I found those to be quite good in situations where you use them. Now, Exterminator is especially useful once you're going against the Mylar Queens or something. You really see a big difference there. The armor penetration makes for a hefty buff. And Glow Sight, well, there's a lot of enemies that go down way easier. Mole miners being a good example, and especially glowing ghouls can be a bit hard to crack otherwise, but with glow sight it's definitely manageable. And as I said, I want to have high perception. Now, one perk you could use is crack shot, which gives you more range and accuracy with your pistols or automatic pistols when sighted. However, I basically always use VETS here. We're completely focused on crits, so that would be a little bit of a wasted perk. So I rather went for those two. And lastly, we do have concentrated fire, which I showed during the video. Works very well with this weapon because it still thinks the weapon is a semi-automatic, and therefore you get the full buff with every shot, which is nice. Endurance, fairly low, as you saw when we were looking at the special stats. Yeah, we're actually down to 2 due to our debuffs. So yeah, this is just for the perks here. We do have Adamantium Skeleton and Fireproof. Now, Fireproof is definitely worth it. We do have very low base HP. So, yeah, something like a Super Mutant Suicider that detects us or a exploding car could one-hit us pretty easily. So, therefore, yeah, rank 3 of Fireproof, not a bad idea here. And Adamantium Skeleton, quite simple. Even though we're getting detected relatively rarely, enemies do still fire in our direction, and if our leg gets crippled, for example, we do stand up for a short while and get detected, so that can mess up a little bit with us, and so I did go for Adamantium Skeleton here. Charisma at rank 4 with Lone Wanderer. Now, pretty simple solution would be to just go for rank 3 of Tenderizer and reduce Charisma to 3, use that perk point somewhere else. That's something I would probably have done if I had a bit more time, would ultimately give us definitely a noticeable extent of more damage output. So yeah, I would go for rank 3 of Charisma and rank 3 of Tenderizer. But for now, we do have Lone Wanderer, a little bit more tankiness, and AP regen doesn't hurt. But yeah. Intelligence, we do have rank 6, and we do have First Aid and batteries included. First Aid, and that's just, in my opinion, a perk I often utilize because on a lot of builds, Intelligence doesn't have the best perks. So if you're not using explosives, yeah, there's not a lot to do. Otherwise, there are some good perks for power armor, but for our needs here, there's nothing that really benefits us all that much. And first aid is just a nice all-rounder, meaning that we can gather more stim packs easier. So that's it. And batteries included, similar to traveling pharmacy. It's just here because I do usually use this character often with with um, energy ammo, and therefore, yeah, I do have batteries included here, so I'm not overweight. But yeah, that's something you can use whatever you want here. Maybe you get an explosive version of the weapon and want to use demo expert rather than these two perks. Feel free to do whatever you like. I just wanted to have at least a little bit of intelligence going on to level up a bit better. And now our main stats here, I'd argue, with agility, which is at a base stat of 15. We do have covert operative, sneak, and escape artist. Those are pretty standard for a sneak build, for a ranged one. For a melee one, you would use ninja. But otherwise, yeah, more damage from stealth attacks, better sneak, and the ability to get back into caution, and most importantly, it's muffling your sound, so yeah, it makes you more silent when you're moving. So yeah, there's that. Just helps us with sneaking. Now on a guerrilla build, the problem is that this means we don't have all the perks, all the points left to use a lot of our gunslinger perks, but well, we do have rank 1 of Gunfu simply because I do like that the um, target switches automatically after killing a target, but you could live without it if you want to. And lastly, we do have rank 1 of Expert Gunslinger, and Master Gunslinger are maxed for extra damage. So that's just a little bit of a compromise I made here, but ultimately you're not losing out on a whole lot by just using Expert Gunslinger at rank 1 rather than rank 3. So there's that. Obviously, if you have a full set of chameleon armor, I guess you could easily get away without using sneak and therefore use those extra points in for the expert gunslinger or something. But yeah, that's just personal preference. You have to play around a little bit here, but ultimately I think you saw during the video, we're not really lacking damage output. So I think this combination here works quite well. For luck, we do have Bloody Mess, which isn't the most important perk. It kind of works to counteract the fact that we only have Expert Gunslinger at rank 1. It does really not do a lot. You could probably get better DPS by using Quick Hands, which would work relatively well on this build, in my opinion. I just didn't have it here, and that would have been another 3 level ups. But yeah, a little bit more extra damage, even if it's not much, is okay here. Ultimately, we wanted to have luck at 15. That's pretty important, simply because we want to have, as I said during the video, luck at 23, ultimately with all together, with our buffs and everything. So yeah, we had rank 3 over, so 3 perk points to spare, and we don't use 4-leaf clover or something because, as I said, the combination of critical savvy with 23 base luck means that we get a crit on every second shot. So you don't need psychopath, you don't need 4-leaf clover. They ultimately don't make a big difference or any difference. So yeah, there's that. Star Sheen's pretty simple here. Beta criticals, pretty obviously, we're using criticals every second shot in perfect conditions. So yeah, we're getting a lot of mileage out of that. And Grim Reaper Sprint, well, pretty basic for a VATS character in my opinion. Rarely see someone not use it simply because it helps you stay in VATS all the time. So pretty simple. lastly, we did have one perk point left that I used for Class Streak, just to negate a little bit of our debuffs. Especially the most noticeable one probably is the debuff from uh, marsupial being suppressed, but you can use whatever you like here. Feel free to do whatever you want. Ultimately, Class Freak doesn't do a whole lot to us here, but yeah, it just worked out quite well. So overall, that was it in terms of basic perks. And let's now look at our legendary perks. We do have legendary agility, endurance, and perception, and luck. So not a lot to talk here. The only thing is, well, luck quite important because, yeah, as I said, you want to have 23 luck. That's the main goal here. And the other ones, yeah, just give us a little bit of an extra mileage in terms of perk points here. But as I said, you can go down with strength, you can go down with charisma. Those aren't as important. Even endurance, you don't really need that. Um, put a dance chest piece on and reduce the fireproof perk if you want to, so you don't really need those here. Far-flung fireworks, I'm not convinced of the perk, it's not the best one, it's just fun here and there, and sometimes, especially fighting hordes of ghouls or anything, it can be quite useful. It's just something I have here to switch up a little bit and not use even more legendary perks, legendary stats. So yeah, here we do have rank 2 of Far-Flung Fireworks. And the more important one here is Follow Through. Only at rank 2, ultimately I would love to have it at rank 4 here, like on my main character. But yeah, another extra 20% damage, and those are multiplicative, which makes them very important here. Yeah, they work very well. Now, similar to a stealth commando build, fighting ghouls, wolves, and so on, you basically oftentimes you don't even see the effect of follow through simply because your enemies die too quickly. The effect takes a little bit before it works. So after your initial hit, you wait like 1 or 2 seconds and then it works. However, where it's really important and where you really see it is when you're fighting scorched beasts, sheep squatches, behemoths, and so on. That's where the perk is here. So ultimately, yeah, I I do have a slight feeling that in this video I said ultimately like 20 times or so. I'm sorry for that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. See you next time, and yeah, I had fun doing the video, and I hope you can make use out of this information with the automatic gunslinger. Bye bye.